Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Justina and here I like to make, create, and inspire fun art things with you through my DIYs. As you see by today's title, I have another June-O-Ween DIY video for you with a lot of items found at Dollar Tree. Now some of my items I also found at Dollar General for about $1 or even less, and the outcome of these DIYs were really fun to do. Now if you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It's totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. Now if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you, but don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. It really does help out my channel. Now with all that being said, let's just jump right into it and let's art today. For my first DIY, I have this really large birdhouse that I purchased from Dollar Tree about a couple years ago. What I like about it is that it's really large for its size and it's made out of all wood. I did pick it up in their plus section for $5. It just says wood birdhouse on it, and here is the size of the box if you want to know. Now the sticker still peeled off really nicely, even having it for a couple years in my storage, and I just peeled that off. Now to begin with, I am going in with my folk art home decor chalk paint in the color Java. Now I took some of that paint and then I dipped my paintbrush into water because I wanted this more of a stain rather than a solid color, because I am going to continue adding paint on top of it to get the depth and the look that I am going for. However, you can paint your birdhouse however you want, but this is for my June-O-Ween, so it's going to be creepy and spooky and all of that. So I will continue painting it all on there or staining it until I got the desired look that I'm going for, and then I will continue on all around my birdhouse. Once I was done with the body of the house, for the roof of the house, I did use less water for the paint job, so it was a little bit darker. I wanted this to really be moody and dark as possible. That way the rest of the house stood out. Now, like I mentioned before, after I got the first layer done and dried, I started going in with a second layer of colors. This is my folk art home decor chalk paint in the color Castle, which is this light gray, and then I also added some black acrylic paint on top of that. Then after I got the layers on, I took more of that Java brown water paint mixture that I had before, and I added it on top and then blended them all together, so it made the house look really blended, old, and worn out. And then I continued painting it the exact same way for the rest of the house. Once that was completely dried, I then moved to the front of the house and started painting all of the little details. First, I paint all of the windows, and I'm going in with my black acrylic paint by Apple Barrel. I got a huge jar of it from Walmart, I believe for like $6 to $8. I can't remember, but it has lasted me a couple years now, and I'm afraid that it might start turning bad soon if I don't finish it up. So as you see here, I'm just finishing all of the windows in that black acrylic paint. Once I was done with that, I then moved up to the little hole on the top of the roof, and I decided that was going to be a window as well, and I'm just giving that another coat of black acrylic paint. Now, I really didn't wait for the paint to dry, and then I just moved on to the door. I'm going in with my folk art home decor chalk paint in the color Castle, and I'm going to start painting on the door with that color. Now as you see, it is streaky because my paintbrush is dirty from painting the windows with the same paintbrush, but I didn't mind that because I wanted this to look really old, rustic, and dirty, so I just kept on adding paint. And then for the little doorknob, I went back in with my black acrylic paint. Now after I was done painting the door, I did start painting the steps, and I forgot to click record on my camera. However, after I was doing them, I was like, I really wanted this to look nasty, so I took my folk art home decor chalk paint in the color Irish green, and as you see here, I'm just painting green everywhere. Now after I was done with that, I did turn it around, and I wanted my house to be very holy, like really broken and just a really bad house to ever live in. So I'm taking the same black acrylic paint and I made a nice block of black, and as you see here, I'm pulling it out so it looks like cracks into the house. And I continue doing this on basically all four sides. Then after a while, as I was looking at my house, I realized that I wanted the whole thing to pretty much be as disgusting as possible. So then I did go back and add that green paint all over the house as well. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I continue adding all of these big blocks of black everywhere, so it looks like there's holes everywhere in this house, and you can tell that it will be nice and cold and drafty if you ever lived here. After I had all of the paint where I liked it, here is how my house looks so far. Like I mentioned, I did put that green paint all over my house, so now there's green goo everywhere, and I absolutely love it. Now I wanted to add some more material or objects to my house, and I have some of these wooden cutouts from Temu that they let me have, I believe, last year, and these are adorable. They come in all different shapes and sizes and different pictures. As you see here, there's a tombstone, jack-o'-lantern, spiders, skulls, all sorts of things. So I picked out my very favorite that I want to add to my house, and I placed them to the side. Here are all the ones that I picked up, and then I took them off camera and I did paint each one individually, and as you see here, they are all painted. I also found this little skull left over from my previous video that I also painted and placed to the side. Now it's time to decorate my spooky house, and I found some of these little branchy trees in my florals from Dollar Tree. I just picked them off of the florals that had the purple roses on them, and then I cut them down to size, and then as you see here, I am connecting them to my spooky house with some hot glue. I am just placing a nice dollop of hot glue and then pressing the trees right in there, so it looks like spooky branches are coming all around the trees. And yes, I do decorate the back of my birdhouse. That's because I like to have the whole thing completed, because I do have little ones and they do play with some of the stuff that I create, so when they spin it around, it's spooky everywhere. Now as you see here, I do have a spider and a spider web, and I am gluing that to the top portion of the house on the side of the house right there. That looks perfect. And then for the front of my house, I wanted to have a little graveyard scene, so I'm just gluing on the tombstones right beside that little window and my first tree, and once again I'm using my hot glue to attach everything down. As I'm gluing down my little graveyard scene, if you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, I would love for you to be part of our virtual family here. As you see here, I am now adding more hot glue to the bottom of my gravestones, and then I'm adding some crumbs from a bag of moss that I purchased from Dollar Tree. Really wanted this to look overgrown and spooky. Once I had the right amount down, I then added another dollop of hot glue right to the center of it, because now I'm adding that little skull that I painted earlier right in the center, and I just think that is so adorable. After I was done with the front of my house, I then continue all around the bottom base of the house, adding more hot glue and more of those moss crumbs right on top of it, so all of it looks like overgrown grass and spooky moss everywhere. Then I started adding the rest of the pieces onto my house. Once again, I'm attaching everything down using my hot glue gun. I have two of these little ghost figures right here that I'm adding to the side of the house on the opposite side of the spider web, and I just think they're so adorable. Then after that, I flipped it over once again and then added my little black cat to the bottom of my house right here. Added a big dollop of hot glue first, placed my cat down, and then added more moss to hold him into place. And then right on the edge of this corner, I added my jack-o'-lantern. So adorable. I absolutely love it. Now that I have all of my pieces where I like them, I wanted to put my haunted house on a stand. So I have this Dollar Tree candlestick and I'm attaching it using my hot glue gun. That way, if I ever wanted to remove the stand, all I have to do is pop it off. And as you see here, I placed it right in the center. Now, I thought I was finished, but when I showed my spouse, they were like, it would be super cool if it lit up. So I was like, you're right. So I turned my house around, and as you see here, I'm just drilling a hole so I can feed some Dollar Tree lights into it. And as you see here, my little drill got stuck. Nonetheless, I continued and made the hole a little bit bigger, added my string lights to it, hot glued the battery pack underneath my house, and that completes this DIY. This is how my haunted house turned out. I absolutely love this. I really want to get more of those little birdhouses from Dollar Tree and make a whole little village. Here's my little spooky cat, my jack-o'-lantern, the little graveyard scene in the front with the skull hanging out, and then I have my little ghosties over here. The best part about this DIY, I must say, has to be a suggested one, which was to add the lights inside by my spouse. I absolutely love it. My kids were so happy to see it glow, and I'm just so excited to add this to my spooky collection. I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. For my next DIY, I have this Home Sweet Home sign that I purchased from Dollar General. Now, at first, this sign was $1, but it was in a box of clearance that said 50% off, so I only paid 50 cents for this sign, which is a great deal. I really wish I picked up about 2 more. I first want to cover it using my Waverly chalk paint in Snow White, and I do give it 2 coats. That way everything has a nice finish and has an even coat, and you won't be able to see those letters poking through. I'd let each coat dry completely before adding another one right on top, and this is how it looks after the second coat was completely dried. Now I wanted to give this a nice ombre effect using my Waverly chalk paint and pumpkin, but then after I saw that, I was like, no, let's make this a candy corn theme. So I took out some of my basic acrylic paint in the color yellow, and I'm placing that on the bottom, and I'm going to start adding that all over the bottom section. I try to make each space as evenly as possible, that way it looks like a nice even candy corn jar, and I gave each section about 1 coat of each paint. For my middle section, as you see here, I'm adding on my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin, which is this really rich orange that I absolutely love. Added that on and then waited for each section to completely dry. For the top lid of my mason jar sign here, I am painting it using my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Castle. Once again, just giving it 1 coat of paint. Now that my sign is completely dry, I am going in with my new Sharpie paint pen. This is an oiled base pen, which I really like. It was really smooth to use. This is not sponsored by any way, but I just really loved how this pen wrote on this sign. As you see here, I'm just outlining the edges of my mason jar just to give it a nice look to it. I don't know, sometimes it just makes the mason jar pop even more. As you see here, I'm just adding those lines right onto the lid, and look at that, it just really makes the sign pop. For an added detail, I have this wooden cutout from Dollar Tree of a jack-o'-lantern, and I wanted to add it to the middle of the sign. Now as you see there, it did look fine with it just being a nice wooden sign on top of it. However, I wanted to paint mine, so I'm going back in with my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin, and I'm going to start painting my little jack-o'-lantern here. After I got the first base coat on, I then wanted to add some depth and some dimension to him, so I'm going in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Java, and I'm adding those details all around the jack-o'-lantern, putting it around his eyes, on the very edges of the jack-o'-lantern, just to really make him stand out. I didn't like seeing the paint show through the jack-o'-lantern's eyes and mouth, so I have some of this black scrapbooking paper and I'm going to trace my little jack-o'-lantern out of it. After I was done tracing it, I'm just taking a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut out that shape. However, when I started cutting, I made sure to go a little bit smaller than the original tracing around the pumpkin. That way all of the paper would be hidden behind the jack-o'-lantern. As you see here, I'm just dry fitting it right on top to make sure it fits, and I love how it just adds another layer of spooky on the jack-o'-lantern. Now to attach my paper to the wooden piece, I am using my hot glue gun. It's on a high setting, so I'm pushing the glue down so that it is nice and flat, and then I'm going to set that right on top of the scrapbooking paper. Once that was adhered down to my little jack-o'-lantern, I then took my hot glue gun once again, added a nice dollop of hot glue right on the back of it, and placed it right into the center of my mason jar right here. Look how adorable that looks already. After I placed my jack-o'-lantern down, I did notice that it was still a little bit too plain for me, so I wanted to spell out the words trick and treat to put down on my sign. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I do not like my handwriting, so I did have to take my time and make sure to line up all of the letters really slowly so that it looked really nice. However, if you have a Cricut machine or stickers, you can always use that. After I was done writing, that completes this DIY. This is how my mason jar sign turned out. I absolutely love it. It's really cute and not really that much spooky. However, I just love the layer of depth I gave my jack-o'-lantern in the center. But I really would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. Rolling right into DIY number 3, I have another terracotta pot painting for you. If you've been following my channel for a while, I like to paint on terracotta pots. It's just a new hobby for me. I absolutely love it. I don't know, something about it is very therapeutic. I did seal my pot this time, and I am going in with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of that paint and wait for it to completely dry. I do also like to paint the inside of my pots, also the bottom of my pots, so that the whole thing is completely covered. And as you see here, this is what it looks like after it had time to completely dry. Just a nice white canvas for me to start painting on. Now for this pot, I really wanted to go a little bit gruesome, so if you do not like bloody things, then you can skip this DIY. However, it's just paint, it's not real blood, and I'm just painting on these little globs of paint everywhere so that it looks like blood splatter. I am using my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Imperial Red, which is a nice deep red, and I'm adding it all over the pot. As you see here, I am using a very fine tip paintbrush. That way I could get really small little crack like paint strokes onto the paint, once again to mimic paint splatter. I do this first so that I get a base layer, and then later on I'm going to take my paintbrush and flicker it onto the pot so it looks like another layer of dripping. Once again, you will see that later on, and I'm just going to continue painting on those splatters everywhere. For the other side of my pot, I wanted to make a hand streaking down, and the best way I knew how to do that was just to paint my own hand. Once again, I am using my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Imperial Red, but this time I dip my paintbrush mostly in water so that it will give me a smearing effect like I'm trying to do here. I then push my fingers down more into it so that it can fill up, and then since it didn't come off my hand completely, I then went back in with a paintbrush and filled up all of the lines that my hand created. I thought this was really cool, and it gave it another depth of creepiness right onto my pot. I was definitely not trying to be the neatest, because the worse it looked, the better it turned out. After I was done with my hand, I then dipped my paintbrush back into water, and as you see here, I I dripped it onto my pot, and I'm making it drip down my pot. Then I start taking that same paintbrush and I'm starting to flick all of the paint right on top of the pot, once again going in all sorts of direction, just so it gives it another added look of a blood splatter effect everywhere. I do the same thing for the bottom of my pot. Then lastly, I wanted to give my terracotta pot a hidden message, so I'm taking that really thin paintbrush and I'm going to spell out the word help me in there. Once I was done writing out my word, I do seal this up using my Rust-Oleum clear sealer, and once that was dry, this DIY is completely done. Here is how my terracotta pot turned out. I absolutely love it. It's different from the usual paintings I do on a terracotta pot, but I just wanted to do something different, something that I usually don't do, and I just love how it turned out. I really loved that it looks really messy and that a crime happened on top of it. However, if this isn't your typical decor that you like, you can always skip this DIY. My favorite part also has to be the hidden message on the inside that says help me, but I really would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. Alright friends, that completes today's DIYs for you. Once again, I had a blast making each and every one of them. I don't really know which one is my absolute favorite, but I think this haunted house is my first. The terracotta pot is my second, and my little trick and treat sign is my third. But I would love to know what you think of each one of these DIYs down in the comment section below. It really makes me happy to hear which ones were your favorite out of the DIYs that I've created. Remember friends, if you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free. And if you would like to get notifications from YouTube, all you have to do is click the bell notification down below, and YouTube should notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, I would love for y'all to be my virtual art friends here. Now, if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video with me. I had a blast making these, and if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. If you have a friend that loves spooky Halloween decor DIYs, please make sure to share it to at least one friend. It really does help out my channel. Once again, thank you all so much for taking the time and watching today's video. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here, and with all that being said, as always, I will see you in the next one.